Welcome back to Something Different with Marky Ramone. Here we go. Are you ready? Now, imagine the brainchild of Dr. Seuss, Captain Beefheart, Frank Zappa, Stanley Kubrick, and Rube Goldberg. And you begin to understand the spectacle of that one guy. How does one begin to describe that one guy? Let's start with his instrument. The best way I can describe it is to have you close your eyes and envision a mass of steel conduit pipe assembled in the shape of a narrow harp. It's attached at the bottom at what looks like a baseball home plate, which is fastened to a flat piece of plywood in a hinged fashion so that the pipe can be rhythmically pushed away from the body and brought back. A foot pedal at the bottom strikes the cowbell. Getting a picture now? It's evident that the sound is not entirely earthly. It's definitely mostly electronic, but it's very hard to spot a wire. Bathing in a cacophony, as if Reggie Watts is living inside the magic pipe. Blue Man Group done solo. How does he play it? With his hands and arms flailing around back and forth, up and down, over invisible strings. Anyone who is uncomfortable with the unfamiliar noises that emanate from places unknown, you will not know what to make of this. For those of you who crave the chaos, who only feel at peace when immersed in the loud hum of distortion at the end of a Nirvana song, you will relish in the symphony of noise created by my next guest. And I want to welcome that one guy. How are you?
Very good, my friend. How are you doing?
Excellent. Thanks for calling up. I got to say, I've been a fan for a long time, and I was very pleased when I found out that you're recently back on tour. I first saw you opening up for Ani DeFranco back in the 90s. Is that basically when you started out in the 90s?
Yeah, I started experimenting with this whole thing in the late 90s. I probably did the gigs probably with Ani DeFranco in the early 2000s, I think it was.
Okay.
Because I started touring as that one guy in the early 2000s. The early versions of my experiments were very much in my bedroom for the most part, because it wasn't ready for public consumption yet. I was still figuring things out, getting it together, but it's definitely been a long-term project for sure.
It's amazing what you do.
Thank you.
And you call your instrument the magic pipe, correct?
Yes.
And is this something that you just kind of put together overnight, or is this something that took you years to create?
It took years. Initially, it took years conceptually. You know, I thought about the idea for quite some time. And then I set aside about a year to maybe give myself a shot to build it, you know, and see what I could come up with. And even then, I didn't really know what I was doing in terms of the actual structure. The concept was very much finished in my mind, but I gave myself a full year to kind of experiment with different materials and ideas to basically see what would work and what wouldn't. And, you know, like I said, that was over, well, it's about 12 years ago now when I kind of hit that point with it. And even since then, I've built it and rebuilt it a bunch of times, and it's definitely still a work in progress.
Constantly evolving?
Always, yep.
When people see something they cannot explain, they tend to write it off as God's will, or they call it magic. I've watched several hours of you playing this instrument, and it makes sounds whether you're sliding a bow across the string or waving your hand over the pipe and turning the pipe fittings around, saying a word into a microphone, it gets looped over and over, or tapping the sole of a boot that's plugged into this instrument. Do even you know the full extent of this creation?
You know, I'd like to think that I don't, actually, because I'd like to think that there's always a surprise around every corner, and half of the fun of playing this thing is being surprised by the sounds it makes and maybe the things it can do, or that I can make it do, or that we can do together. You know, it's a real adventure, and it keeps me constantly surprised. And yeah, I mean, I definitely have specific techniques and ideas in mind when I finished this thing initially, but what ended up happening was, you know, a lot different than I had initially planned. It does different things than I had even hoped, and that's what's fun about going on an adventure like this. Is you usually end up in a slightly different place than you had planned initially, and you're surprised, and sometimes it's better than you thought it would be, or at least just really kind of different and exciting. And that's what's so much fun about playing this thing, for sure.
I think that the things that you do, I would put you in a class of a musical genius. It's just amazing what you do.
Thank you.
And because I put you in that class, I'm going to ask you a question I don't think I would ask anybody else. Does music need to be limited to just the 12 notes on a musical scale? Or can you replace a musical note with, say, the sound of a chicken clucking?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I do that all the time. No, I mean, we live in a pretty interesting time right now, where people are using lots of sample-based tools to create these sonic collages out of sound, and it's going way beyond the 12 notes. I think in the West here, our Western culture, we use the 12-note scale, and we're all very used to that sound in terms of melody. In different parts of the world, they break the scale up into, finer fragments, and, there's some 24-note scales and more in some cultures, and that is a specific sound that those cultures are used to. But I think our ears changing here. I think that we're getting used to hearing dissonance in a different kind of way. I think the way sounds are layered, and like you say, atmospheric sounds or chicken sounds or whatever whatever anybody's sort of using as part of the ingredients is going to add or make the sonic collage what it's going to be. And there's no rules anymore. That's for sure. I mean, I grew up a schooled musician, so it's taken me a while to sort of figure all this stuff out and kind of understand it and even embrace it. But I definitely feel like that's where music's going, without a doubt.
For many years, I've kind of wondered. I mean, this whole premise of this show is to play something different, stuff that you don't hear on mainstream pop radio. I mean, it's like you turn on your local pop station, and it's like every song sounds the same, basically.
Yeah,
and it seems like we're limiting ourselves. But with what you do, I think it's going to branch out into the next horizon or something.
Oh, thanks. I'm definitely following my own little ideas and seeing where they take me, But yeah, that's what's fun about music. Is it to me, it's just this unfolding adventure, and I'm as surprised as anybody is when I hear what ends up happening with it.
I bet if you and Jack White were to hook up, you'd make some fantastic music together. Did you ever get a chance to meet him?
The movie comedian?
No, Jack White.
Oh, Jack White. I'm sorry. Yeah. Actually, I just saw him play last summer. I was in Tulsa, and he was with Canes, which is an amazing venue that I play a lot myself. And I went and got to watch him play. And yeah, it was an incredible show. It was powerful.
Did you ever get to meet him though?
No, never met him.
I think you guys need to hook up.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty awesome thing. Maybe someday.
Have you seen It Might Get Loud?
You know what? I haven't yet. I've seen a bunch of little snippets of it, and it's right up my alley.
It's really cool. My favorite part, I think, is when Jack White he's just taking this like 2x4 and stringing up some strings and a pickup on it, and he's making a homemade guitar, and it's really cool. It reminds me kind of what you're doing.
Sure, the idea of the one string thing. I think I've seen that clip, and they're talking about the diddly bow. That old blues instrument that you string the single string to your porch and then your roof, and they play it. It's an old blues instrument. It's really, I've only read about it and heard people talk about it, but that was initially sort of a half inspiration for the instrument, for the magic pipe, because I love the idea of a single string instrument. I thought it'd be a really cool challenge for myself to see what it sounds like I could make with just one string.
It's amazing. Now you're going to be playing at the Iron Horse, my favorite venue up in Northampton, on Wednesday the 20th.
Yep.
You've got some other shows not too far away, up in Albany on the 22nd, and Boston at the Middle East on Saturday to the 23rd.
Yes.
So I was reading, I think, briefly on your webpage, you're kind of branching out to a new tour this year?
Yeah, this tour is sort of, I'm doing a bunch of new stuff on this tour that I've never done before. This tour started in February. It goes to May. It covers the entire country, 87 shows, almost all in a row. Got a few days off here and there, but mostly staying super busy. And I'm doing a bunch of different stuff. One thing I'm doing is I'm experimenting with projection, video projection that I'm controlling with the instrument, with the magic pipe. I can manipulate it, control it with the instrument. It's been really interesting and really fun. And the other thing is I've been incorporating magic into my show, and I'm actually doing a close-up magic performance for VIP members of if you get the VIP ticket for my concert, and I limit it to only about 10 people or so per night, and I do it just for the VIP magic show. I do it before the doors open, and it's close-up magic with cards and coins, and really, really interesting, really fun stuff. And this is the first tour I've gotten to do that. I've been studying that stuff for quite a while, and I'm very passionate about it. I really enjoy magic, and so it's an element that I can't put in my big show because it's too small, and it only works well only for maybe 10 people maximum. So I do this for very limited audiences every night before my show. But then, for my concert, my regular concert, it's general admission.
That is really cool.
It's a fun night. Yeah, it's fall. It's really fun.
You just never cease to amaze me. It's really cool.
Oh, thanks, man.
So are you getting so far? Are you getting like a good turnout? Are you getting like a lot of new, fresh faces? Yeah.
There's a lot of the hardcore fans come back, and I always love that because it feels like a community to me, and they always bring some new faces with them. They always bring some uninitiated folks, and they get to experience it for the first time. And sometimes that's my favorite audience is people that haven't seen it before. Cause it just feels like I got so much new stuff to show them, and it's very confusing and kind of overwhelming to watch this thing, I think.
Do you get to see
tell where the sounds are coming from?
Do you get to see the look of amazement on their faces when they're there for the first time?
Yeah, that's my favorite thing. My favorite thing to watch is to watch the crowd and watch them try to figure out what the hell I'm doing up there. I think that's a very enjoyable part of this for me.
That is really cool. Well, that one guy, I really appreciate you calling up. I've got one last question that I ask everybody.
Sure.
Being on tour and going across the nation and seeing all these different cities, is there any place that you go and kind of look forward to going to get your favorite comfort food, whether it's a burger or an ice cream cone or something?
God, that's a good question. Food is such a big deal for me on the road. That's like one of my favorite things to do on this tour is eat. On all these tours, rather. Let me think. What's my favorite place to go for food, comfort food? I mean, there's a couple spots. There's barbecue in Austin, which is amazing. There's Art Thomas in Atlanta, which is probably my favorite. That's just an amazing 24-hour joint in Atlanta that I've been going to every time. We had a break on this tour. We were there for 3 days, and we went there every night and every morning. We went there for breakfast, and we went there every night for dinner, and again for super late night too. So there's so many good spots. That's probably my favorite. But I'm a collector of my favorite food spots. So I got to say, across the country, there's some really, really good ones. That one sticks out for sure.
Very cool. I imagine if I was doing some sort of tour, I would just be looking forward to the next meal.
Oh yeah. No, it's right. You're right about the comfort food aspect of it, and that's one of the nice parts about touring solo. And like right now, I'm touring with Wolf and Tuba, and we're both big foodies, and so we make it a priority, and we like to think that the music's a vehicle to bring us to fun food things as well. So it keeps it fun. It keeps it enjoyable. When you're on a real big tour, on a big tour bus with a big crew and all that kind of stuff, you don't get to do this. You don't get to kind of branch out like we do and keep our own schedule and make the food a priority like we do. So it keeps it interesting.
Very cool. I'm gonna play a song here to end this up. I think I'm gonna pick "Butt Machine." That was a good one from way back.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's a classic.
But to anybody listening, if you're ever on YouTube and you're just browsing around, type in "That One Guy" and type in "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." That is an amazing, amazing performance right there.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
I was just saw last night somewhere they were saying that is the most popular or most played soundtrack song or something, "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," and you just
Of all time. Yeah, I believe it.
It's an amazing performance that you did.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
That One Guy playing up in Northampton at the Iron Horse on the 20th, Wednesday, March 20th. Definitely check it out if you're in the area. I appreciate you calling. That One Guy.
My pleasure.
All right,
nice
stay on the line.
I will. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, I'm definitely heading up to Iron Horse on the 20th. All right, here we go. Butt Machine. Check it out on YouTube if you get a chance. Really cool.